Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast with another episode today. Today, I'm joined with Geege, and it's going to be really cool because it's from America and UK today. So time gap.
Yeah, a little time
Yeah,
gap, 5 hour, 5 hour
yeah,
time gap.
yeah.
One that I'm used to because my boyfriend lives over there where you are. He's in London, so he's 5 hours ahead of me. So every time I wake up in the morning, I call him and say good morning, and he's always annoyed. He's like, "It's afternoon here," and I was like, "Oh God, sorry."
Yeah,
So
it's crazy, isn't it?
it's crazy. So 11 a.m. for me, and what's 4 o'clock for you?
Yeah. That
Yep.
that's right.
Yep.
But before we sort of start talking about autism and your show, would you mind just doing a little introduction of yourself?
Yeah, so I am Geege Taylor, and I have a show that's on Hulu called Leave It to Geege, and that's spelled Geege. And it's about living with autism and just celebrating autism. My son is 20, and he is non speaking, autistic, and needs one on one support. Um, and we have four all young men on the spectrum on the show. So we've got my son, who we affectionately call Pooty. We've got all the way to Pooty's caregiver, who is also my roommate. He lives with us, Tyler, and he throughout the season gets his own diagnosis of autism, which is really really cool, and it's something that we've never seen on a show before. Where it's walking through the steps of getting this diagnosis and chronicling his journey and his emotions going through the whole thing. So he is a PhD student. He's a behavior analyst. He's a researcher, and he works with my son as well. So he's a living caregiver. And it's so great because I'm divorced. My boyfriend's in another country. It's so great having another set of hands here in this house, when I need it with Pooty. Pooty's very good. A lot of the time he's just going with the flow and easy. And then other times,
Sorry.
my niece is here. She just sneezed. Other times, I need some help. He can be very strong. He can be very, he can just, when he wants something, he's going to go after it. And, sometimes I kind of need a little good cop, bad cop. So I'm the good cop. And I'm going to say Tyler is the bad cop. Tyler's the one that steps in and, says, Pooty, stop doing that or whatever. And Pooty seems to listen to him a little bit more. But anyway, the show started because I wanted to show something that was happy and cheerful and celebrating autism. Many things I had seen in the media, 10 years ago when I first started thinking about doing this, they seemed back then to be honestly just negative. There was just a lot of, people feeling sorry for themselves because they're, living with autism or they're, taking care of somebody with autism. And we just weren't having that experience, I mean, yeah, there's definitely tough times with Pooty. My daughter does not have autism, and I got to say she gives me equally as many tough times. I mean, just raising children, full stop, is a challenge. And so we like to focus on all of the things that autism brings to the table, all the things that Pooty brings to the table that nobody else ever could. And I mean, I've never known anybody like him, never will. And he brings us so much joy. And, he's opened our eyes to just a whole new world and a whole new way of living and thinking and being. And it's elevated and it's beautiful. And I just wanted to show that side because I felt like there was, things that were sort of negative and also things that were just so heavy, and kind of medical and dense. And I think now is the time for it. There's starting to be more and more shows about autism. I know Love on the Spectrum just got an Emmy, which is amazing. So yeah, I think that the time is right and people are, ready to see this marginalized community, but in a light that's going to surprise them.
Yeah.
So our message is do not feel sorry for us, honey. We are living the dream. Actually, you might want to envy us because we are having so much fun. And, if we've done our jobs right on the show, you're going to be educated without really knowing it because you'll be so entertained by, this great cast of characters. I say cast, it's our family and our adopted family. And um, but you're gonna have so much fun. It's just the new modern family. And it's not just about autism, it's about our lives and our families. And everybody in my life is kind of an over the top character, whether they have autism or not. I don't really surround myself with basic bitches, if you will. So, it leads to a lot of fun storylines. And it was originally pitched as a comedy, because we just live life so, kind of out of the box. And, humor is the way that I, I don't know, cope and deal with life. And, but anyway, they realized when they saw the show, when we started shooting it, the pilot, I think that the network saw a lot more there, and they're like, this is such a fun, happy spin on this family's life, but there's so much heart there too, and so much for people to learn and to demystify autism, so that people, you fear things a lot of times that you don't understand. So they just thought it was a great, story to tell, and they decided to make it an hour long because they felt like it had a lot, just so many different things to offer. So that's how we got where we are. World of Wonder made our show. They are a huge production company in Hollywood. They are famous for just celebrating people of all abilities. They're the ones who discovered RuPaul. They've got RuPaul's Drag Race. They're Emmy making machines over there. So I adore everybody at World of Wonder. They've been a great family to us. And Lifetime, the Lifetime Network, is the network that made the show. And now we are picked up on Hulu. So it's exciting. And I hope that we get a second season. We just got to hang out and see if anybody watches it, right?
Yeah, I think that's what it all goes down to, I think. But it's good that you get an hour episode, because I think when you watch any show, 45 minutes, it seems not long enough, really.
Yeah, especially those half-hour shows. By the time you throw the commercials in, it's really like 21 minutes, and that's just, how do you tell a story in 21 minutes? And I'm so long-winded. I probably talked to you 21 minutes just now. So how do you? Yeah, I mean, an hour it was great. It's a little bit more work. Very long days. Long days.
Yeah. I think it's a good length of time, just to get all the things that you want in that episode for the hour.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. You really know. I think. Thank you.
7 minutes.
Yeah.
8 minutes.
So how many episodes do you have?
We have 10 episodes. So yeah, we spent the whole summer making the show. So almost 4 months, and they're really 12-hour days for the crew and 10-hour days for us. So long days. But the good thing, so many people have asked me, well, what about Pooty? Because he's non-speaking. How can he consent to doing this? And, I'm his mom, and all I've ever wanted is what's best for him, so we don't push him to do anything on the show. The storylines on the show are real life experiences. I was the one that told the network everything we were going to do, because they don't know, what does Pooty want to do? What does our family want to do? And so, we kind of planned out just doing it just like our normal lives. And so Pooty is just doing what he always does. So he has the freedom on the show to just come and go like he always does in the house. If he wants to go outside and jump on the trampoline, he can go. If he wants to go into his little playroom, he can go. We love the idea of having him in a lot of the scenes because he's just so adorable. And he's so, you learn so much from Pooty. And but you honestly don't see him on the show as much as a lot of the other folks, because it's just not his, if he was happy doing it, he was in it. If he didn't want to do it, he wasn't. So some episodes he's in it more, some he's in it less. So he can't consent to be on the show, but he can descent. So the minute that, he's not feeling it, he just goes. And behind the scenes, we have a behavioral therapist who was working with him the whole time, who was, He was never unattended or whatever. So he was so happy, and the crew was instructed to pull back, anytime that he seemed distressed because of what was happening. And they underwent sensitivity training, which the network and the production company had them do. And they came in knowing so much, all of them, about autism. They were trained in how to be sensitive to the needs of Pooty, what his specific needs were, and just learned the basics about autism. And it was great. They came in and asked intelligent questions. They all wanted to do the show because they felt like they loved the idea of doing something good for people instead of just making just another reality show about a bunch of girls in a fight, throwing wine in each other's faces and screwing each other's husbands. So they all liked the idea of doing something really meaningful that had some meat on the bones, and so they were great with him, and we never had to stop filming. They were like, even though this is going to be expensive, we will shut the show down all day or for several days if we need to. They never had to do it. There was probably 2 times, maybe 3, and I mean in 4 months, where we just said, okay, you got to go, just back off. And maybe they would back off for like 20 minutes and Pooty would be totally happy and jumping around again. But that's real life, I mean, and he was never bothered by them. It was, they kept a big distance from him. It was always just natural stuff that would bother him. Like maybe he's getting a headache, or maybe he's, just not happy for whatever reason. But it worked out great, and it worked out way better than I knew it would be okay because Pooty's got the personality for it. He likes people.
Yeah.
He's used to people being in my home, and we've always had a lot of people here, and so yeah, I mean it just worked out great, and I feel like he had experiences that he wouldn't have had if we hadn't made the show. We did lots of different kind of things on the show, and he was a part of all of it. So yeah, it was great. It was a very fun summer. It was a really cool thing to do for a family for the summer. Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been a fun experience for everyone.
It was fun. We did, we're kind of a rowdy crowd, so we had like fun activities planned and different things that we were doing. So, yeah, we had so much fun.
Yeah, yeah, and like because where is it available to watch if people would like to go and have a look?
Okay, so it's on Hulu in America, and that's HULU, very popular streaming site in America. So it's on Hulu, and you can also find it online on mylifetime.com. My Lifetime, LIFETIME.com. And it's Leave It to Geege, GEEGE. And you can also find me on my Instagram, which is Geege Taylor. And that is GEEGETAYLOR. And you can keep up with us that way too.
Yeah. So because you filmed over the summer,
yeah.
when did the episode get released?
Okay, so we filmed summer of 2021, and the first episode came out in January of this year, 2022. Yeah, so it ran from January through late March, but like I said, now it's on Hulu, so it just kind of lives there forever. So it's, yeah. So it just came out in January, so just this year. And, we hope to get picked up for another season and start filming again sometime next year.
Yeah.
That's what we would like. That's what we hope.
Yeah. I think 10 episodes is a good amount as well.
I like 10 because you could really explore things a little bit deeper, and doing like, for example, Tyler getting his diagnosis throughout the season, it was really cool. And I don't know that we could have done that in 6 episodes. Usually for a first season, typically a network might buy 6, kind of see how it does. So we were thrilled when Lifetime loved it and wanted to do more. So yeah, I think we needed 10 to tell that story, and other stories. We have a lot going on, but particularly that, I feel like it's nice to kind of see things happening in real time, and yeah, it just gave us a chance to explore a lot more.
Yeah, and it's good that you had someone having a diagnosis throughout the season.
That was so cool. And it's not ever been done on TV. So it's so fun to watch. Tyler is my very best friend, and he's 30 years younger than me. He's close to Pooty's age. He's like 3 years older than Poot. But I've always thought that he had autism. I could just see those traits in him. And nobody cares. I don't care about it. He doesn't, it's just part of him, and I see those traits in me. I don't think I would get a diagnosis for autism, but I mean, I might come close. I feel like so many of us have, I mean, I could sit there and list a million things, about me that seem autistic, but with Tyler, it was just, he's got that laser focus. And it's really an advantage for him. And this is what I think a lot of people don't understand. People who don't have autism in their lives, Tyler's autism is to his advantage. He hyper focuses. He's a researcher. He is he teaches classes at the University of Georgia. He analyzes behavior and writes behavior protocols for therapists. And he does so much. And I feel like, he's able to hyper focus on this one study, this one subject, and study like crazy and just focus on it. And it really serves him well because he is one of the best ones out there. He will be at the top of his field. His professors at the university, I feel like, are learning from him. And so it's interesting. But I could tell, I was like, Tyler, I always thought that maybe you had autism because it's kind of your whole life is your research, and very little else. He's got a big personality, but he never really cared about socializing a whole lot. Recently, he has taken to the club. He really likes to now every Friday night, and this is also part of him liking a routine. Every Friday night he goes out now with his friends, and they go dancing, and it's every Friday night. And I'm so happy for him because I love seeing him find an interest in something else too, because it's typically just been about his studies. And but it's great to see him, go out and have fun. And he certainly has lots of interest, but he's just able to really dedicate so much time doing something that I think a lot of people would need a break from, So, for example, when he would take Pooty on the weekends, he takes him to his parents' house on Saturday nights to spend the night and give me like one night off so I can sleep all night and sleep in the next day, which is great. And, the whole time they're there, he will take data on different behaviors of Pooties that we're kind of trying to target. And he'll put it in a graph and he'll chart it. And he'll bring that home with him the next day. And I'm like, before you came along, Tyler, I had a lot of babysitters, and none of them spent the weekends charting and graphing and taking data. They were just like outside playing on their phones, Yeah. But they're still having fun. Tyler and Pooty are just, they're like brothers, but they're still having fun. But he's just so focused on it. So, it's like, Tyler, I know he has a lot of sensory issues and a lot of texture aversion with food. He eats a very simple diet. He doesn't like to wear shoes. His clothing has to, the tags, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. There's just little things about him that, his sensory system is a little different. But anyway, he and I, he brought it up to me during the show just organically, and it was great. He's like, I think that I'm autistic, and I think that I want to go and pursue a diagnosis. And for him, it wasn't because he was actually going to do anything so much with that diagnosis. I mean, it's not like, oh, now that you've been diagnosed with autism, you need to go into therapy or take medicine. He doesn't need all that. He's happy. He's happy. He lives a great life. But I think he just wanted to know and just kind of have that clarity. And what I think is great too is it just shows the spectrum. It shows, how so many of us have autism and how it's in a lot of ways. I know I've had struggles with Pooty, and I understand there's a lot of challenges, particularly when you're non-speaking and that kind of thing. But it also shows, Pooty brings so much joy to the table. And there's so many things that are so great that far outweigh the fact that he's non-speaking. I don't even care if he speaks. I know what he wants. He makes himself very clear, And but with Tyler, it's really cool because I think one thing about the show is it just shows, okay, well, he has autism, so what? It actually makes him an expert in his field. It's, he's a grinder and he's the best at what he does, and he's happier than anybody else I know. So it was just cool for him to have that clarity. And I also really like it because he can go to a family when he works with, a child or an adult with autism, and he can say, I feel you. I understand these sensory challenges. I understand, this, that, or the other. I've lived through all that. So I think it's great because he can bond a little bit with that community and the people he's trying to help and their families. And yeah, so that to me was really a highlight of the season.
Yeah, yeah, I agree because like what you say about like interest, I think that's really evolved around autism. And like I'm the same. Like I always talk about a certain interest, even if people don't really care. I'll be like I'll just still talk about it and try people to get into it what I like, and I think that's the good thing about it. And like you say, like getting a diagnosis, you might not, like you don't have to go into therapy, you don't have to have medication. It's not like where like earlier this year, like you had an organisation stating that autism was a disease when it's not, and and putting out misinformation about autism, which is bad because people, there's still lots of people out there who don't know what autism is, even though there's quite a lot now. It's getting more recognised, but
Yeah.
you just want like people to know the rights about it and not the wrongs.
That's so good. Yeah, it's so well said. There's just I don't see any wrongs about it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
But I mean, I think that's how society sees that. They
yeah,
see, oh, this is wrong because it's not normal. And I'm like, I never cared so much about being normal anyway. I find it very boring. So I think that things that are that are different for Pooty than they are for the rest of us, it just makes him unique. It makes him a character, it makes him interesting. He's not like everybody else, and I think people are just drawn to that. And also, um, you know, another misconception I feel like about autism that I hope that we sort of debunk is, this person who is struggling maybe and they are struggling with communication and non-speaking and they need one-to-one support all the time. You just think, oh gosh, that's so sad. And I'm like, honey, Pooty is not sad. He is so bossy. And some people wouldn't think that. They'd be like, oh, he's bossy. He doesn't even talk. And I'm like, I mean, he lets his needs be known. He is cocky. Like he thinks he thinks he hung the moon. He is spoiled rotten, which is a lot of that's my fault. But and he just acts like a badass. Like he walks in a room and he has moves and he goes up to girls he thinks are beautiful and just touches their face and I'll give him a kiss and he's so romantic. And I mean, he's got swagger and he's happy. He's happy as he can be, but bossy. So if he wants something from me, say if I'm sitting at the table and he wants something to eat, he might walk up to me and just be like smack me in the head and then point to the kitchen, kind of like, bitch, go make me a snack. I'm like, oh my God, like it's so rude and so bossy. But it's really funny to me because I'm like, I love that. I don't think that a lot of people would really necessarily think that he would be that way. They might think, oh, he's not going to have a lot of personality like that. Or how could he be happy? How could he be bossy? How could he be so confident? You can just tell that he's just so confident. And I think that people would not understand that unless they really take a good look. And that's why I love, the chance that we got to show that. So yeah, so you're right, like showing all the rights about autism. That's exactly what I wanted to do. And before the show, I definitely felt like what I was seeing was all the wrongs, like you said, or what people perceive to be,
Yeah, and I love what you say about like how your son doesn't have to speak to show what he's feeling, and I completely agree because I think that is something with autism where like you have high and low, which I don't agree with, because everyone's different with autism. Like, you don't have a person that maybe can't speak, may not need the help, or they may need the help. It's just a matter of the person. Like,
It's so individual, and it is hard because people speak in those terms of high functioning, low
yeah,
functioning,
yeah,
and that's hard. And I think that that's also hurtful. And I think that people are just trying to find ways to, define the difference between somebody like Pooty and say somebody like Tyler, and I think sometimes they're not careful with the way they speak. And I mean, I honestly, years ago, would define things that way because when I was new to autism and didn't really understand things the way I do now. Now I'm just like, I would never say that, but we all learn, as we go. And, but yeah, I don't see the need to define that. I don't any more than I see the need to, define high and low autism. They're just who they are, any more than I see the need to define other things like, I don't know. I think that you don't have to put a label on things. I think that person is that person. Um,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
I think people tend to label things a lot, and I think that when you do that, a lot of times it winds up just being hurtful. So so as far as Pooty goes, they have levels now. I think is the way to define it, like level 1, 2, 3. Is that right?
I'm,
Have
I'm
you
not
heard that?
sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know,
I've
really.
heard that here in America that there's levels, and so I
Yeah.
think, for example, maybe Tyler would be a level 1 and Pooty would be a level 3. And I think it's defined by how much support they need.
Hmm.
So Pooty needs, the maximum amount of support and Tyler needs none. So I think that's kind of how they do it. They sort of scale it. And I don't know why they even need to do that bit. I don't know. I don't know if it's for the school system or, trying to define if somebody needs support. I don't know. It's an
Yeah, that is interesting.
interesting discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, because like it's like it. They may need that more support, but they might know more about that than another subject, maybe. So
Absolutely.
like it's very interesting because I went from a mainstream to to different school suits of people with autism, like which is quite cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't to start with because like routine and everything and changing like environment, so
Mhm.
it is very tricky. But
Mhm.
you get to see how different it is, and like there's sensory rooms, there's soft play rooms, where
Yeah.
I'll define myself as a person that is sensory because I don't like I don't like touch, I don't like close contact, I don't like any of those kind of things, and unless
Yeah.
someone says first. um, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Pooty is it's funny because Pooty is so affectionate and he likes to snuggle and kiss and that kind of stuff, but only when he wants to.
mm,
So if he's not in the mood for it, he's gonna push you away and like with his hand, like
yeah,
back off. I kind of think the older he's getting a little more that way. Not quite as snuggly with me, that kind of thing. But I also look at it as, I mean, he still lets me do it some, not as much as he did when he was younger. The last couple years, I've noticed him kind of not as much. But I mean, he's a 20-year-old man too. Most 20-year-old dudes are not snuggled up with their mama 24/7. He's not a baby. So I have to think about it that way. Like, what? He's growing up. I mean, he probably doesn't need to be like all snuggled up on me all day long just because I want to do that. My daughter don't want me to do that to her either. She'll let me hug her and kiss her, but after a minute, she's like, all right. So you just have to respect everybody has different, sensitivities and the sensory stuff is different for everybody. Have you always been like that about touch? Have you never really liked touch?
no, like unless I'm comfortable with like a person,
Yeah.
if they just come up with me and did it, I would be very uncomfortable about it. Um,
Yeah.
Like I think I've always been like that. It annoys as well, you know, if you're eating and someone's bashing their plate while eating their food, like maybe at dinner, I'll get irritated about that, and I'll think to myself, I don't make that kind of noise. Why are you making that noise? Um, and I don't like that kind of stuff. And I say something, I'll say, can you stop or just go in the room so I can eat in peace?
Yeah. And how do people respond to that? You might get a little mixed response on that one.
Normally it's at home. Like
Yeah.
if it's like in a restaurant or something that's unavoidable, you haven't got a choice. It's fine that because everyone's doing it at once, it's more doable. But if it's one person, it's different because I'm just like eating dinner, and then like I know some things you can't help it, but some things you can. You can adjust it. You can not put your fork on your plate so heavily, or just those little things.
Yeah, and I think that the people who are with you the most and love you and understand you, will get that. Because I think we all have, things that bug us, like, noises and sounds. And I know some people are more, sensitive than others, but I can't stand listening to people smack their food. Like,
oh yeah, don't like that. Don't like that.
It makes it where I don't want to eat at all. I'm like, I can't. It just those noises drive me crazy. So, yeah, you're right. You can't really tell, at a restaurant, you can't tell people to do that, or maybe you're with your friends out to dinner. But I will dang sure tell somebody at my table at home, like, stop smacking, Harper. My daughter or whoever's smacking, or like, stop banging around on your, like with your utensils and stuff. So. Yeah, it is. That's the nice thing about being home is it's just your comfort zone. And I'm such a hermit anyway. So I feel like I've always liked to stay. I'm not terribly sociable. Like I'm very friendly and I love people, but I get anxiety in big crowds of people.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I don't like big crowds.
I don't like that. I don't like parties. I don't like things like that. I don't like having people I don't really know or I don't know well coming up to me and talking to me. And I don't like making small talk. I can do it and I'm probably actually good at it. I just don't like it. I don't like talking about like, oh, so where's your husband working now? Great. Like, I just don't like all that. And honestly, it's exhausting for me and it's boring. And I don't like small talk. I kind of like more medium talk. You know what I mean? Like I want you to tell me something really interesting. I don't really care where your kid goes to school.
Yeah. It's understandable because it's not any difference to your life if they do or not. Is it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why do I care? Like I mean, I'm not a mean person. It's just I just don't want to like spend my time doing that kind of stuff. But I do get definitely social anxiety. So I feel like the nice thing for Pooty, and Pooty's pretty good, in social settings, but I mean, I know he doesn't love them. So I think because he and I are both the same that way, like we sort of tolerate it, but we don't love it. It's kind of nice fit, because I'm never thinking, oh, I wish I could take Pooty out to restaurants more, but sometimes it's a struggle taking him to a restaurant because he doesn't want to be there, but just to eat the food, that might be 10 minutes and then he wants to be gone. Or you can tell he's not digging what's going on. He doesn't, maybe he walks in the restaurant and he immediately decides he doesn't want to be there and he's trying to leave, So I feel like I sort of avoid a lot of that, but we just eat at home a lot, but that's what I want to do anyway. So I think that Pooty and I are lucky to have each other because I'm not somebody that wants to do all that, and neither is he. So it's just like a good fit. We'll do it every now and then. I want to make sure that he's exposed to everything in the community, but yeah, I like being at home.
Yeah, home is nice, especially in the winter.
Yeah, especially where you are in the winter. It's so cold over there. Yeah. I hate when I visit over there in the winter. I mean, I don't want to go anywhere. It's so I want to stay in front of a fireplace and not go anywhere.
Yeah, it's like not this very minute, but waking up this morning, freezing.
Yeah. Over here, it's warm. It's very different. My boyfriend comes over here and when he visits, and he just is in the best mood because the sun's always shining. We're in the South, we're in Georgia, and the sun's always shining and it's always hot. All the things that get on my nerves, like the heat, he loves all that because he
Yeah.
never gets it. He never gets it over there.
Yeah.
Although I was there a few weeks ago, my boyfriend's daughter got married. Lovely wedding. Went over there for that, and it was kind of warm then. But I think he said it's turned cold since I left. I was there like in middle of September.
Yeah. September was okay. Like more towards the end of September and then going into October, it's more cold, and then you've got Halloween, which will be even colder, and then even January, February normally is cold as well, but it's normally just after that where it might start getting warm.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Um,
definitely cooler than here for sure.
yeah, yeah. I'll have to come over there one time to see it warm.
You should. Have you been to the States before?
No, I haven't. I've never been.
Oh, you should come.
Yeah.
Have you been out of the country? Have you
Um,
traveled?
yeah, I've been to France and I've been to Scotland, so I've been not completely out of like the UK completely, but I have been on plane.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. I would like to go like America, Australia one day. I know they're two different places, but they're long distances.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very long distances. Yeah, I would like to see Australia too. I've not been there. I have been to France and Scotland. I've not been to Australia.
Yeah, yeah,
I would like to do that too. It's a little bit hard for me because of Pooty. I know that he wouldn't want to travel that way. It's just there's really, with him, he wants to do things the way he wants to do them, and I feel like I don't want to make him do stuff. He already has to do a lot of stuff he doesn't really want to do a lot of time anyway, like most kids do. So
yeah,
I don't want to drag him on a vacation because he's so home is his comfort place. And I don't, like I said, I don't like going out very much socially, but I do like to travel. And so I'll do that some, but whenever I can afford it, and I'll space it out. I don't do it very often. I don't like leaving him for very long. And when I do leave him, Tyler takes care of him, and I feel totally comfortable with that. He's here in his house. He's with Tyler in his routine, so it works out. I think I'm just being mama bear too much, and I don't like
yeah.
leaving. I miss him when
Yeah.
I'm not with him.
I think like how maybe autism can affect people when they're traveling is like maybe just like before you've actually get on the plane, like it's when they have to check you with their metal detector thing, and
Yeah,
then you have to leave your phone behind, and then you're worried if things aren't going to be back to for you to get them, and then I think that
yeah.
that like with people with autism, they could probably take that the wrong way when they're doing maybe the metal detector thing. They may think they've done something wrong. Or why are you doing this to me? I haven't got anything on me.
I cannot even imagine. I actually would love to see Pooty going through a metal detector. I don't. He would probably just look at the person who's asking him to do it and just like smack them, like he would. I do not think he would be a very cooperative passenger. That would be interesting. I've thought about taking him to London if I could get everything just right for him there, which I don't think I can. So I don't know if I'm going to take him. But if Mark had, enough, he has a flat in London, so he doesn't, he lives alone. He doesn't have some, huge house with a playroom and a fenced in backyard. He's not set up for all that. And so I've not been real tempted to try to take him there, but I feel like if I ever did do it, I would definitely want to take Tyler with me to help me on the plane and everything. But I think it's an overnight flight, so I almost think Pooty could do it because he sleeps so well. He didn't when he was young, but now he sleeps really well. So I could just give him his medicine like I always do at night, and he would probably honestly just pass out sleep the whole way on that overnight flight. However, I think he would have to be in first class. You know how they have those big beds that lay down?
Yeah.
he would not understand sitting up in a chair. So I would probably have to spend like $8,000 putting him in first class. So, it all starts falling apart when I think about it that way. I'm like, no, I don't have that kind of money. It's hard enough for me to sit in the back in the bad seats.
Yeah.
Hard enough to pay for that. But I think that's the only way Pooty could go is first class. So he probably ain't gonna go. Too much.
Yeah. It is something that like I want to go somewhere like not in the winter, because the past two, like Scotland and France, have been in the winter. So I want to go somewhere else another time in the year. But
Cold times of trouble. What are some of the things that you're interested in? I know that you said that sometimes you like to talk a lot about all the stuff that interests you. What are some of the things that you love? We were talking about Tyler loving to do research and data collection, and Pooty's interests are he loves doing sensory work. Like he loves jumping and swinging and playing with things with textures. Like he loves beads, and he loves to rock in the rocking chair, and he loves to eat and snuggle. So what are the things that interest you the most?
well, what interests me is like as a special interest, I like Doctor Who, and in my spare time, I have like Doctor Who clothes where I do different Doctor Who videos, and just like in the summer, I went to go to different locations where Doctor Who was filmed, because that interests me, where shows have been filmed, and I would go
Really cool.
in Wales. I would go there, and I got my own little Doctor Who book, so I tick it off where I've been. And because I was only there for 3 days, I wouldn't have time to go to all of them. So what I'm going to do is go back next year to visit Wales a bit more as well. So that's a special interest of mine. There was some Merlin, some Star Wars locations in the same places as well. So that's a more recent. Doctor Who's always been a special interest of mine, but a more recent, I guess, added onto that is just finding locations of different stuff where different things have been filmed.
That is really cool. That's so much fun because then that's something that you can get out and do and go see new things and have new experiences. And then you can link them all back to the things that you've already seen and heard with Doctor Who. That's so cool that you kind of get to be there.
Yeah.
Sort of experience it too.
Yeah. And what I do is I have picture where it was taken, and then I put a collage piece with the actual in the film where the people were, and I put them together, and I'm saying that, and which is really cool, and that,
so good.
Because of course Doctor Who is filmed in houses as well, so I got permission to go to one of the houses where they let me in, and it talked about how it was filmed and stuff, which is really, really cool. So
I love it.
It can go on. Like a lot of it is filmed in the same area, but there is some actually in America that's been filmed in the past. In Utah, I think. Yeah, in Utah, and I think the beach. So it's very interesting, and it's a very interesting hobby.
I love it. It sounds interesting, and I love that you get to sort of just be a part of what the whole Doctor Who thing is about. I love that you get to be there and see it, and I'm sure that makes you more connected.
Yeah.
All that material. That's really cool. Yeah. Thank you for telling me about that.
Yeah. And I find a lot of people on spectrum who are actually autistic, quite a lot of them like Doctor Who. I found like the last year or two.
Really? Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Are you in any like chat groups where y'all talk about it, or?
It's yeah. Like I have good like friendship group around people who like Doctor Who too, because not many, like growing up like in school, not many people like Doctor Who like me. I didn't find it, and of course it started. My age group kind of started in the 2000s, like 2005, and I was young then. Like I started watching it when I was very young.
What do you like best about Doctor Who? If you had to name one thing about the whole.
I like all the quotes in it because it like I did a series about Doctor Who and autism on the podcast because I thought it was relevant because I had people on there speaking about Doctor Who,
Yeah,
and autism. Not everyone had autism, which I made it really diverse so they can actually learn. So,
yeah,
some people who enjoy Doctor Who, because I thought it's a good way because everyone knows what Doctor Who is. Most people do.
yeah, of
Um,
course. Yeah,
and what I did was at the end of every episode, I said, because there's so many quotes in Doctor Who that relate to people personally. So I
yeah,
said, give me a quote that you relate to, or just give me a quote that's your favourite, that you really like. And I know there's so many of them, so I asked them, and that's what my favourite part about Doctor Who is the quotes because they relate to you. Like so many.
What's your favorite quote, or what's one that you can think of right now?
Like speaking about what you spoke about earlier about being unique in autism,
Yeah,
there's a very good quote, and it's we're all unique in the universe.
yeah, I like
Yeah,
that. I
because
like that.
we are we're all unique in the universe if we have autism or not. I think
Everybody,
yeah,
everybody is.
yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
everyone's unique. Like um we all do things for the best we can. Like yeah, being unique is it's one of my favorites, and we're all unique in the universe.
I love that. I love that so much. My favorite quote is acceptance is the key to happiness.
Yeah,
I think when you're able to accept everything that you have and the challenges that you have in life, when you don't try to fight them and you just say, okay, this is what I'm presented with, and you don't fight it, you just go work your way through it. I think that's when you're the happiest. You just accept. I've had a lot of things in life, that I'm 54, so I've lived a good bit longer than you have, and you live a long time, and you live a long time, and you go through different trials, and um, right now my mom is she has cancer. She's going to be okay, but she's going through treatments. And I had breast cancer like 12 years ago. And, things like that, if you just accept it and just say, you know what, it's going to be what it's going to be, everything's going to be okay. I feel like it's just all your frame of mind. And then if you
yeah,
accept it, then you're happy. If you try to fight it, or, even when I first was realizing that Pooty had autism, I never tried to I never really cared so much. It wasn't that I didn't see it as a negative thing. I saw it more as an answer to a lot of questions I had, like, why is he doing this and why is he not doing this? So, when you accept what's going on in your life, you can be happy. You don't try to change everything, you just let things happen the way they're supposed to happen. And I do think that's kept me sane in my life with all the different things that have gone on. But yeah, but I guess this is getting off the subject a little bit. But yeah, but like when Pooty was diagnosed, I remember that the team who came to do an evaluation on him, I said, I think he has autism. And they said, we never walk into a household when we do these evaluations with very young kids. He was only 18 months old. And they said, we never walk into a house and the mom just says, I think he has autism when they're this young.
yeah,
And but I had researched it and I was like, it just makes sense. And they're like, and I think that when you have a frame of mind of it's not a bad thing, it's just a thing. It's the same thing as him having blue eyes or brown eyes. I mean, it's just what it is. It's not a negative thing. It's just his life and what he's like. So I think when you realize like everything happens for a reason, and play the cards you're dealt and have fun with it, that's when you're really happy in life.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Like early on having autism diagnosis, I didn't really know much about it. I was 9. I was, and like you don't know much about it, and then you learn about it. You learn about what card you're dealt, and like you say, you have something for a reason. Um, like then later on having a Crohn's diagnosis where which is a disease that like affects everyone differently, and I think everything does. Like everything that a diagnosis entails, everyone's going to experience differently. You might get like a similar experience from someone else, um, a similar path, but I think I think every time you get diagnosed with something, you're going to think, why me? Why did I get to have this? And
Yeah.
then as life goes on, you kind of think like, well, maybe they decided, or whoever decided for you to have this diagnosis, whatever it may be, that you can handle it, and you can fight it, and you can deal with what it has to put on your life. So it is it's a personal experience, but it's good to have that support from family, from friends, when you need to.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think, I don't question things really that happen. I just sort of roll with it,
Mm.
and just think no matter what it is, I'm just going to think what can I learn from this, and how can I make this, something positive in my life, even if it's something awful, like a breakup with somebody, or like, I don't know, no matter what, or you're broke and you can't pay your bills and you're eating a peanut butter sandwich every day for a month. How can I get stronger from this? How can I learn from this? How can I do better from this? And I think if you approach life, like, your glass is half full, not half empty, I think that's when you really live life, and when you're grateful, every day for what you have, instead of focus on what you don't have, and
Yeah,
like you said, people have similar experiences, but they're never going to be the same. So you have Crohn's, but you're never going to have an identical situation to anybody else. You might have a lot of similarities with other people who have Crohn's, but it's never going to be exactly the same, because you're unique, like you said, like
yeah,
from the Doctor Who movie. You're unique in the universe, and everybody has their own path to follow, and their own hand of cards that they're dealt, and it's just, what are you going to do with those cards? How are you going to play them?
yeah. Like, it's your choice what you do with them. If you want to be vocal about your journey, you can. Like we are,
Yeah, I
but
love it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
not everyone's going to be the same, which I could agree. I wanted to ask, do you have any special interests yourself?
I have, yeah, I've always been really interested I've always been creative and wanting to, like when I wanted to make this TV show, but even before that, I've always felt like I wanted to do something in that industry. I made YouTube videos of our family, and I loved doing it. And that was one way that we got our show. Was I sent one of my YouTubes to the production company, and they loved it, and they decided to pitch it, and so we've made a show from it. But I've always been really creative that way. I love doing videos. I built up my Instagram that way too. I love taking little snippets from our life, and I think we started this before the YouTube. I started just building up a big Instagram following. A lot of the people who follow me are families with autism and friends with autism and people with who are autistic, and so I started sharing our life that way. And I would just do little snippets of things that we were doing every day that were different than everybody else, but I kind of felt like maybe better, like more fun. Like, it may not be the same as what you're doing right now, but I put one up today on my account with Pooty getting ready to go to school, and he's jumping up and down, and he has like a napkin over his eyes the whole time, and I don't know why he's doing it, but he is loving it. He's having so much fun. And when you just look at the joy that just like exudes from this child, you're envious of it. You want what he's got, And so I really wanted to show that on my Instagram, to show a different side. Like, don't pity this child, envy him. This kid's happier than you are, and so I'm really passionate about advocating for autism, and I do a lot of work with that. And I love being creative, and I love filmmaking. I love all of that. And so I'm a producer on our show, and was very hands on with everything, and it was great. That I don't think I would have done the show if I weren't, because our situation was unique with Pooty. I wanted to make sure everything was completely tailored around him and what he could do, what he'd want to do, and um, so yeah, that's been a passion of mine. And if we get a second season, I'll continue to do more work. Obviously, I'm on the show, but behind the scenes kind of stuff, I'll do a lot of production work. And if we don't do another season, then I fully intend on staying in the industry and finding something else that we want to do. So yeah, it's been really fun. And it's been a great thing for me because I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm Pooty's caregiver. So when he's at school, I'm doing all the things that I need to be doing, because once he's home at 3 o'clock, I'm one-on-one with him. And I don't really like to go to the grocery store and do errands and all that after that, because he likes to be at home. Tyler doesn't get home a lot of nights till like 8 o'clock, or, almost bedtime anyway. He's almost here just for the middle of the night kind of emergencies, or like if I really needed an extra hand, and he watches them on the weekends. But yeah, so my days are spent cooking, cleaning, appointments, running errands, advocating for Pooty, which is seriously a part-time job, and doing I'm doing my work with all that kind of stuff, and also working toward the show. So I just feel like the luckiest girl in the world, getting to do what I love. But it's great too, because I wouldn't have been able to do this project if I weren't, it's the best job to have with my son, because it's something I can do with him right there with me, and I don't have to leave him and go to work. I'm working from home on the show, whether we're filming or not. And it's great because he's just with me the whole time. So it's kind of really the only job I think I could have where, he's involved with it and where I'm here for him all the time. And interestingly, he likes to watch the show, and he's never been a big TV watcher. He just doesn't have that attention span or that interest. And sometimes he kind of seems like he liked Curious George a little bit, and he'd watch that. And I think he enjoys that sometimes not. But he has been glued to our show. And I think that it's because, hey, this makes sense. Like, I know these people, I know their voices, I know what they're talking about, I know their faces, and there's me, and it's the coolest thing. So he literally watches that. I put it on all the time for him. After school, he likes to lay in the bed and relax, and I'll call it the Pooty Show. I was like, let's watch the Pooty Show. And he just smiles. He lights up. He sees his grandmother and his sister on the screen, and he just lights up. And it's so fun. So now I'm kind of thinking you're asking me about my interests. I like the idea of, I don't know how I would do this, but I think it'd be cool to like film some kids like Pooty who really don't have an interest in television because it doesn't really apply to them. But if it's your family, it seems to be with Pooty, it's his family and friends. So all of a sudden it makes sense for him. And I don't, in a way that I don't think any other television program does. And he really enjoys it. So I want to kind of go to some families in need who have a kid who doesn't really like to watch anything on TV. And the mamas need that time too. Like, oh, I need to take a shower. I need to start working on dinner, and it would be nice to know you're there in one place and you're doing, it's just a different activity too. It's fun for Pooty to be still a little bit, instead of just running around all the time. So I would like to start following around some families who could benefit from something like that. Maybe, for a weekend, just shoot it on my iPhone. I made the pilot that sold our show. I made it because it was during the pandemic, and they were going to come here and film the pilot. The crew was coming from LA to film the pilot, and they couldn't because of COVID. So I just said, I've made all these YouTube videos. I really think I know what I'm doing. Just tell me, specifically what it is you're looking for, and I'll do it. So I really have a lot of experience, I say a lot of experience. I've got decent experience with that kind of thing. So I think, and I love editing. I love doing that whole process. So I would like to find a family like ours where it would be fun to tape them and then edit it and put a little show together, um, for them to enjoy too. So it's just another thing that I can add to Pootie's list of things that he likes to do, and it's cool to see him enjoy that. And it's a different activity. He's constantly on the move. He loves being in motion, like I said, rocking, swinging, jumping. So it's cool to sit down together as a family and watch a show together and relax together. And he'll do that with us sometimes, but you can tell he's so bored, he's not paying attention, and he gets up and runs off in the middle of it. But yeah, so I've very much enjoyed doing what I'm doing in that aspect.
Yeah, because like advocating for autism is just a hobby. It's just another hobby on top, isn't it? It's really cool, and like I think like if you do or don't do a second season, like you said, like maybe like behind the scenes, like what goes on behind the scenes is really cool, because I love that kind of stuff. I think it's really cool when like TV shows, you don't really get much now, but you Doctor Who, for example, like years ago they used to you would watch your Doctor Who show, and then
Yeah.
you would go to BBC Three, which is in UK, and then that they would show all behind scenes of what they were doing, which I found really cool. And it's
I
almost like
love behind the scenes. I
yeah,
love behind the
yeah.
scenes.
It's almost like you're watching another episode. Like it's just an extra long episode of what you've been watching already, and
I
just
love that. I love
I love
that.
it. I love it. I love it. But it's really cool. Last thing, do you have any advice about autism? Like, just to finish off.
I think that, my experience with autism is pretty vast because of the people in my life. There's also two other guys on the show with autism. One is our friend Nikki. I grew up going to school with his mama, and he goes to camp with Pooty. I think he's 32 now, good bit older than Pooty, but great friend of the family, and so is his mom, Kim. They're both on the show. And I would say we were talking about the labeling part, but I would say, he does great. He's happy. He's completely verbal. He has a job working with Java Joy. It's a coffee cart in our community. He loves doing hair. He loves Barbies. He's got his strong interests, and just as happy as can be. And then Cleet is another guy on our show. He is actually Tyler's younger brother, and he has autism and cerebral palsy, and actually a few other things. And it's just cool to watch his experiences, which are all these guys. Their experiences are so different from the other, so it's really cool to watch all of that. But I think my advice would be for autism. I would say to me, I think in life, like I've said, just to enjoy where you are, no matter, what you're doing in life, no matter what challenges you have, to always look ahead. Don't look back, always look ahead, always look up, always look on the bright side and the positive side of everything. And to see the gifts in autism. I think it's all a mindset. I think that, when you see all the joy and all the different perspectives and all the things that you learn from someone with autism, it's just so enriching and so interesting. And I'm not trying to take away from challenges that people have because of autism, because they're real. I know plenty about it with Pooty, but like I said, we all have our challenges. So to me, the best advice for autism is I don't really even look at it like autism. I think and this is one thing about our show that I love is when you're watching our show, I don't even think after a while you're going to think, okay, I'm not even thinking about this as these people have autism, these people don't. Everybody's on a level playing field in our world. We all are. We're not aware of differences, if that makes sense, because we're all different, all of us. I mean, my daughter does not have autism, but she is quirky, and she is, and it's lovely. It's great. It's what makes her her. She's an artist. She's a portrait artist, so she kind of has that artistic kind of mindset where she's a creative person, and she can be very spacey, and she even calls herself like a space cadet, so it's just fun watching everybody and looking at all of their differences, because I think that's what makes us unique, and I think that's the secret sauce. Like, that's the spice in the world. That's the fun part. If everybody were just like, what a boring place it would be. So, my advice is just, have fun with it. Do the best you can. Take one day at a time. When, if you have a new diagnosis in a family, educate yourself and, try to get all the, resources you can and all the help you can with what you need help with. We definitely needed a lot of therapy with Pooty. I just, put my head down and started to grind and figure out, what he needed. And I advocated for, getting him the things he needs. I do that still all the time. So, yeah, I think that that would be my advice. I think that's the message I want to put out with our show. And that's the way we live our life. We don't really look at it as a different, separate thing. And I don't know, I'm probably talking too long about it, but I if we've done our job right on the show, you're going to forget you're watching a show with autism. You're going to realize this is about 10 people and they're just all doing their thing. You know what I mean? And the ones without autism half the time are the ones maybe you don't even understand as much as the ones with autism. I mean, we all have our quirks, but that's what makes life great. So
it really does. Like, everyone has their own sort of quirks, and you just embrace that, don't you?
Well, that's what makes life fun. That's what makes you you. I love that you love Doctor Who. What the hell's wrong with that? It's interesting, and the way you have gone about going to see all the different sites and stuff. That's fantastic. I mean, I think that's the coolest thing, and I think you found something that you're really, really interested in, and found a way to kind of enrich your life with it.
Yeah,
and travel and all that.
And part of that, people don't have to like it to go. So I could take people who have no intention that this is a Doctor Who place. It's like you're going to, like, maybe one place I went to is a beach. Like they went to a beach, and on the beach I went to is, I think, one of the loudest tidal waves in Wales. And like you could really hear it. It's like really thundery, and like you have a gardeny place, so it's really cool. And like you have your sort of special interests, I have mine. Everyone has different ones, but we relate to each other on why we like them. I think when you take away when you think about autism, and so many people think about the differences. I think if you just think about all the similarities and I think that sort of demystifies things. I think it's just, everybody has their own unique qualities. And I think people need to just focus more on what makes us all happy, and let everybody kind of live and let live. Like if like I said with Tyler last night, we were talking about this. I was like, Tyler, I like seeing you go out with your friends, because you didn't do that. Like the first 4 or 5 years that you were in college, you never went out with your friends. You babysat and took data all weekend. Like, you didn't have an interest in going out with your friends. And now, and I was like, you're 23. You need to go out and have fun with your friends. You're in college. He's gone through his undergraduate. He got a master's. And just when he started a PhD, did he start going out and going to the bars and clubs and dancing and having fun. And he's like, I just never thought that would be fun, but now I like it. And, I was telling him, I was like, I love that you are so dedicated to your research, but I do love you having a balance and being able to go out and do something a little bit different. But you know what? And I told him, I was like, look, Tyler, if you decide you want to stop going out with your friends and go back to just 100% research, who cares? You live your life the way you want. I know that you've got these really kind of narrow and special interests, but God damn, it serves you well. I mean, you are, top notch in your field.
because of your dedication. And I know that that is his autism serving him for the better. I wish I could bite off of him and get a little bit of that myself. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
So
I think it's great. I think it's really interesting as well. Like, like you really interested in data, and
yeah.
which it's really cool. Like you say, we're all gonna have different interests, and yeah, like if you think about it, most interests involve data. I think anyway.
They
um,
do.
yeah,
They do. And now that I live with a supreme data taker, I take data on things like he's rubbing off on me where I'm just like starting to chart a bunch of different things, and
yeah,
he's like, oh my God, I'm rubbing off on you. You're taking data about things in your life that really probably don't even need to be taking data on, but I'm doing it.
yeah, yeah.
But
I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool.
yeah,
One last time before we go, would you mind just saying the name of your show again?
absolutely. It is Leave It to Geege. And I'm going to spell it because everybody's like, who? It is Geege. And it is on Hulu and on mylifetime.com. You can get it there. My nickname Geege, I'm Angie, and my niece, when I was little, she couldn't say Angie, so she said Gigi, and then it turned into Geege. And my best friend has kind of always called me Geege, so it just stuck, and now I'm Geege. And
Changing all
everybody.
the time.
Yeah, I know, and a lot of kids still call me Gigi, and some people still call me Angie, and my mom, when she's pissed off at me, calls me Angela. So it's just, I'll answer to anything. But the show is Leave It to Geege on Hulu.
Awesome, awesome. It sounds really cool for anyone who can have access to watch it. Go and have a
In
look.
the UK, no, I'm not sure if you can get it in the UK. That's the bad thing.
Yeah,
I think.
I don't think you can. I don't have Hulu.
Yeah. So like my boyfriend is actually in the show. He's in half the episodes. He was in London the first half when we were taping, and then he came here and he was here the second half. So he's in 5 of the episodes and he couldn't even watch it. So he's like,
Yeah,
I can't believe I'm in this TV show and I can't even see it over here. So I would have to have our production company, send me some episodes that I could send to him to watch, and it's kind of a pain. But
yeah,
anyway, I'm hoping that it will hit an international market, and at the very least, you can find me on Instagram, Geege Taylor, GeegeTaylor. It is all about just down to earth, having fun, autism celebration, loving life, making jokes. So
yeah. Well, you can find Geege on Instagram, and yeah, like has most of like the scenes like from the episodes on the show. So that sounds really good. And I think the good way to end this, Geege, is we say we're all unique in the universe because we are.
I love that.
But,
That's such a great quote from
yeah,
Doctor Who. We are all unique in the universe, and that's what makes life fun.
it definitely does. Well, thanks, Geege. I hope you've enjoyed today. It's been really nice speaking to you.
I loved it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.